sorry, Mom. We were playing this really dumb game. We weren't fighting. We were just playing. Weren't we, Mark?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 creepiest child performances in horror movies.
If I ask him to tell me, will you let him answer?
No.
Why not?
I'm afraid.
For this list, we're looking at child actors who left a memorably creepy impression upon our collective psyches. We'll also be considering TV movies originally presented in miniseries format. We'll be delving into heavy plot points, meaning that a spoiler alert is now in effect. What infamous horror kid left you cowering under a bed in fear? Let us know in the comments. Number 20. Amie Donald as Megan. Megan. The most recent entry on this list proves that there's always room for new creative ground to be broken within the realm of creepy movie kids. That's because Amie Donald's physical performance as the titular Megan is truly something to behold. The actor didn't handle the voice of Megan in this 2022 film. That honor belonged to Jenna Davis, but the physicality that Donald brought to the role gave the AI-powered doll an uncanny and unsettling aura.
You need to learn some manners, Brandon. You know what happens to bad boys that don't mind their manners? They grow up to be bad men.
The strange dance performed by Megan in the movie's trailer was probably all anyone needed to show them how creepy the doll was, but Donald's creativity brought the performance to another level. Number 19. Miko Hughes as Gage Creed. Pet Sematary.
No fair.
It should be said that Miko Hughes' performance as Gage Creed in the original Pet Sematary doesn't start out creepy at all. Instead, Hughes is genuinely cute and endearing, which makes his fatal accident about halfway through the film that much more tragic. However, the undead version of Gage is the exact opposite. Understated and somber, yet with a believable menace. The phrase, "sometimes dead is better," comes up often within the running time of Pet Sematary, but we can't help but be floored by the duality of Hughes' performance, even at his astonishingly young age.
Gage.
I bought you something, Mommy.
Number 18. Noah Wiseman as Samuel Vanek, the Babadook. There are a lot of strengths to be lauded within 2014's The Babadook. The stop motion and practical effects of the monster are great, but the real heart lies within the performances of Essie Davis as Amelia Vanek and Noah Wiseman as her son Sam.
It wants to scare you first, then you'll see it.
Well, I'm not scared.
You will be when it creeps into your room at night.
That's enough.
You will be when it eats your inside.
The latter role in particular serves to juxtapose themes of mental and behavioral struggles against a familial backdrop and setting. As a result, Wiseman vacillates between a troubled but sweet child and the sort of unsettled creepiness that we expect from a horror movie.
Why don't people like me?
Why do you say that?
Ruby said people don't like me because I'm weird.
Sometimes people say things that aren't true.
In this way, The Babadook succeeds in being both original and rewatchable, which is no mean feat in the world of modern horror. Number 17. Ronnie Scribner as Ralphie Glick, Salem's Lot. It's the scene that haunted the nightmares of many children, and even some adults. It's Ronnie Scribner's turn as Ralphie Glick in the 1979 TV adaptation of Stephen King's novel Salem's Lot. The image of the vampiric Ralphie slowly floating in front of his brother's bedroom window is haunting. It's slow and deliberate, with Ralphie's whitened eyes and scary smile stark against the night fog. The atmospheric score by Harry Sukman gradually swells as Ralphie's brother lets him into the house. It's surprisingly scary stuff for a movie developed for television back in the late 70s, a moment that helped turn Salem's Lot into a household horror name. Number 16. The Young Cast, Village of the Damned. It's difficult to narrow down a standout from the cast of 1960's Village of the Damned. The entire ensemble of young actors truly sells the malevolence at play.
No, Nancy. Leave them alone.
Additionally, there's a juxtaposition of youth and perceived innocence against what these morally bankrupt and telepathic children are capable of doing. The glowing eyes and collective thought is terrifying, and the cast does a great job of projecting it all on screen.
You have to be taught to leave us alone. Leave us alone.
This applies not only to this 1960 original, but also the 1995 remake from director John Carpenter. Number 15, Kyra Schoen as Karen Cooper, Night of the Living Dead. She's one of the OG Living Dead girls, a testament to the evocative filmmaking of George A. Romero and Night of the Living Dead. The 1968 original has tons of memorable sequences to its credit, but Kyra Schoen's portrayal of the doomed Karen Cooper has to serve as one of the film's most iconic images.
Is she all right?
I don't know what it is. She feels warm. Maybe it's shock.
Karen is already mortally wounded when she first appears, but takes almost the entirety of her running time to finally turn into the undead. It is worth the wait, however, as Schoen rises and stares down the camera lens with a morbid, captivating gaze.
Oh, baby. Baby.
And in that instant, a horror movie legend was born. Number 14, Macaulay Culkin as Henry Evans, the Good Son. It doesn't seem unfair to label 1993's The Good Son as a means for child actor Macaulay Culkin to stretch his creative legs.
If I let you go, do you think you could fly?
The hopes were probably that Culkin could both capitalize and distance himself from the fame he earned from 1990's Home Alone. It was a gamble, and critics weren't exactly kind to The Good Son upon its release. Modern reappraisal is a bit different, however, with many fans pointing to exactly how legitimately scary and menacing Culkin feels as Henry.
You like my sister, don't you? Such a sweet little girl. Too bad if something were to happen to her. She got hurt. You'd be sad, wouldn't you, Mark? But hey, accidents will happen.
This is a traumatized character, reacting in the worst possible way. Although we feel for him, his reprehensible behavior ultimately leads to his downfall. And it's Culkin's performance that allows us to feel this conflicted. Number 13, Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay, Child's Play. It's totally natural for young children to tell stories. But what if they're not faking? We, the audience, may know that Alex Vincent's Andy Barclay is telling the truth, but the fictional characters don't possess that luxury.
I didn't do that.
Oh no, what did Chucky do? Walk into the living room and turn it on all by himself?
Did you do that, Chucky?
Andy, stop it. Now come on, under the covers.
As a result, it's easy to view Vincent's performance as creepy, since the original Child's Play actually takes its time with that initial Chucky reveal. Andy is presented as perhaps possessing some deep-seated issues, to the point where he's passing along a lot of his emotional state onto an inanimate doll.
What do you think was so important about my sneakers, Chucky? You don't know either, do you?
Sure, everyone is eventually made privy to the fact that serial killer Charles Lee Ray has sent his spirit into a good guy doll. But up until that point, it is tense and scary stuff. Number 12, Drew Barrymore as Charlie McGee, Firestarter. Drew Barrymore's Charlie McGee is another character that's too young for the situation that's thrust upon her. She's given pyrokinetic powers in vitro, thanks to the abilities awoken by her parents during hallucinogenic testing when they were young. Charlie is never given a choice, and this is compounded by her mother's murder and Charlie's own abduction by a government agency that wants to control her power. Barrymore's character is barely allowed to have a proper childhood, and all of this trauma is cycled into the instability of her powers. This Firestarter is going through so much, and we, the audience, see just what happens when all of this chaos affects Charlie's ability to handle her gifts. Number 11, Kirsten Dunst as Claudia, Interview with the Vampire. There is a lot to unpack with the character of Claudia from the original adaptation of Interview with the Vampire from 1994. Neil Jordan's take on the Anne Rice series of novels is sumptuous and gothic, and Dunst's character is, at first, enamored of her new undead life.
I want some more.
Oh, I know. But it's best in the beginning.
lest the death takes you down with it. And you've done very well. Look at you. Not a drop spilled.
Yet the question of consent soon comes up. This stunting of emotional growth told against a fantasy backdrop of vampirism. Additionally, Claudia will never grow old, yet Dunst is required to display physical and psychological urges in an adult way, despite being a child actor.
You both did it.
I took your life. He gave you another one.
And here it is. And I hate you.
The end results are beyond compelling, but worth discussing with a modern lens as well. Number 10, Davey Chase as Samara Morgan, The Ring. Davey Chase was required to do one specific thing when portraying Samara Morgan in 2002's The Ring: be as absolutely scary as possible. She definitely succeeded, and Samara's first emergence from that haunted video screen is an image that helped define early millennial horror. There's a physicality to Chase's performance that feels labored, as if Samara is struggling to pull herself through the television. Additionally, the sound design of Samara's soaking wet footsteps just makes our collective skin crawl. Seriously, all of the flowers need to be laid at Chase's feet for this performance. Number 9, Isabel Fuhrman as Esther, Orphan.
My name is Esther. What's yours?
Though this supernatural horror film received mixed reviews, its at times generic scares and formulaic plot are saved by one thing: Isabel Fuhrman's performance. As Esther, a 9-year-old child adopted by the Coleman family, Fuhrman is absolutely captivating. She's sweet and charismatic one moment, but capable of turning into a menacing and volatile little creature the next.
I will shoot the mommy if you tell.
Many critics pointed to Fuhrman's performance as a highlight of the film, comparing it to some other child horror icons that we'll be talking about later in this list. If you skipped this film when it came out in 2009, give it a try. Esther makes it worth a watch.
You took your family for granted.
What do you mean?
What are you going to do? Hit me?
Number 8, Patty McCormack as Rhoda Penmark, The Bad Seed.
Why should I feel sorry? It was Claude Daigle got drowned, not me.
The performances that Isabel Fuhrman's Esther drew comparisons to, this is one of them. It might be an oldie, but this 1956 psychological horror thriller managed to get under the skin of viewers with the precision of a scalpel. 8-year-old Rhoda Penmark is the apple of her parents' eye. Unfortunately, when a schoolmate of Rhoda's dies mysteriously, Rhoda's behavior, both past and present, comes under scrutiny.
Promise me you won't tell anyone what you've told me, do you understand?
Why would I tell and get killed?
Patty McCormack commands the screen as young Rhoda, and as old family secrets are revealed, she unravels her character's true nature in delightfully twisted fashion. Rarely has a child so convincingly conveyed pure evil.
If you tell lies like that, you won't go to heaven when you die.
Number 7, Lena Lee Anderson as Ely, Let the Right One In. Every now and then, a film comes along that's hard to pin down, a movie truly unlike any other. This 2008 Swedish romantic horror is just such a film, blurring the lines between genres in ways that make any sort of categorization feel inaccurate. And at the very heart of this critically acclaimed movie is the undead vampire Ely, as played by Lena Lee Anderson.
Slå tillbaka mer än vad du vågar. Då slutar de.
A relative unknown at the time, Lee Anderson landed the role of Ellie after applying online. Only 11 when cast, she would go on to be nominated for and win numerous awards for the performance, which was praised as being nuanced, compelling, and complex beyond her years.
Jag är 12 år. Fast jag har varit väldigt länge.
Number 6, Millie Shapiro as Charlie Graham, Hereditary.
Who's gonna take care of me?
Folks, we would like to officially welcome a new addition to the Horror Hall of Fame, Millie Shapiro. Hereditary was Shapiro's first feature film, her past experience having been on the stage. Suffice it to say, she made a massive first impression. Hereditary has been called one of the scariest films in recent years, if not all time, and it eschews the cheap jump scares so common in contemporary horror. In the film, Shapiro plays 13-year-old Charlie Graham, and while we don't want to give too much away, let's just say that Shapiro's performance will burn itself into your memory in a way that won't soon fade. We cannot wait to see what she does next. Number 5, Heather ORourke as Carol Ann Freeling, Poltergeist. Hard as it might be to believe, Steven Spielberg originally wrote the screenplay for Poltergeist as a Close Encounters of the Third Kind sequel entitled Night Skies. Though that surely would have been interesting, we're glad the director Tobe Hooper suggested it be reworked as a supernatural tale. We can't imagine Heather O'Rourke's performance being nearly as compelling in a sci-fi context. In the film, O'Rourke plays Carol Ann, the young daughter and first member of the Freeling family to sense the presence of spirits in their house.
They're here.
Her performance manages to be both endearing and deeply unnerving as needed. Even when she's trapped on the other side of the portal, her voice acting is chill-inducing.
Hey! I can see you, Ronnie. Where are you?
Number 4. Harvey Spencer Stevens as Damien Thorne, The Omen.
Go.
If there's a child in film that makes us rethink having kids, second only to Rosemary's titular baby Adrian, it's Damien from The Omen. Directed by Richard Donner, yes, the man who gave us Superman just 2 years later, The Omen tells the story of Damien, a young boy being raised by adoptive parents who don't realize he is in fact the son of Satan. Actor Harvey Stevens doesn't have much in the way of dialogue, but that's what makes his performance all the more impressive. He manages to convey evil and menace with his every movement and stare. The performance earned him a Golden Globe nomination for Best Acting Debut in a Motion Picture Male.
Drive on.
Number 3. Danny Lloyd as Danny Torrance, The Shining.
Danny's not here, Mrs. Torrance.
Stanley Kubrick's 1980 adaptation of Stephen King's novel was slow to get the credit it deserved. Polarizing though it was at the time of its release, it is regarded today as a masterpiece of the genre, and it's safe to say that the performances of its cast played no small part in establishing that legacy. While Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall both turn in performances of a lifetime, it would be criminal to overlook the performance of young Danny Lloyd, who was just 6 years old at the time of filming.
Red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum!
He not only nailed the emotional experience Danny Torrance goes through with subtlety and nuance, but seriously got under our skin voicing Tony, his imaginary friend.
Remember what Mr. Halloran said. It's just like pictures in a book, Danny.
Number 2. Haley Joel Osment as Cole Sear, The Sixth Sense.
I see dead people.
It's been estimated that roughly 45% of Americans believe in ghosts. After seeing M. Night Shyamalan's breakout film, however, we suspect that pretty much every single person who left the theater kept all the lights on when they got home, at least for a few days. A terrifying supernatural horror film, The Sixth Sense hit us with a variety of disturbing spirits, made even scarier because we were seeing them through the eyes of this young boy.
Sometimes you feel it inside, like you're falling down real fast, but you're really just standing still.
As Cole Sear, Haley Joel Osment made us believe in every single ghost he encountered, and we shared in his terror. Unsurprisingly, he was nominated for both a Golden Globe and an Academy Award.
Will you stay here until I fall asleep?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Linda Blair as Regan McNeil, The Exorcist.
Captain Howdy? Captain Howdy, that isn't very nice.
Well, maybe he's sleeping.
This 1973 classic is counted among the scariest, greatest, and most influential films in the horror genre. But it's hard to imagine it having the same legacy had it not been for the scene-stealing performance of Linda Blair. Sure, she had plenty of help from the makeup department, as well as the demonic overdubbing of Mercedes McCambridge. But all these years later, it's ultimately Blair's performance that still haunts us.
Where's Regan? In here with us.
Many directors approached for the project were apparently scared off by the prospect of having so much relying on the performance of such a young actress. In hindsight, it's safe to say she pulled it off and then some, even earning an Academy Award nomination.
You killed your mother!
Your servant!
You left her alone to
Regan,
die! Shut up! I'll never forgive you! Shut up! Bastard!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.